Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Just getting settled here as we all begin to join together. Let's take a beautiful collective breath in and out. One more time. It really is grounding to arrive in that way. Hi, Jen and Chris and Nancy. Welcome back to all of you. And glad to be here with you this morning. How has your week been? I went live a week ago at this time. We're going to be doing the same format today, our beloved card reading. And yeah, we've got our different decks here. We're going to be using Michael Singer's Untethered Soul deck, our Work Your Light by Rebecca Campbell, our Sacred Rebels by Alana Fairchild, and of course our classic Light Seers deck. And we also have, I have this new deck. It's called the Gilded Lenormand Oracle deck. It's small, it's only 36 cards, but it's got, it works quite a bit differently than a traditional deck in that it's something that you ask specific questions and you get like a specific answer. I typically do use this deck for one-on-one readings where a question is asked. Although I still get to experiment with bringing it into this space where I kind of pull from a lot of different cards, a lot of different energies. So we'll see if that one wants to come out or not today. So we are here in mid-July. Can you all believe it? How has your month been? How has your week been? Give an emoji in the chat or a word. For me, as far as, you know, what I'm thinking about today and just this week is astrology. I'm a believer in astrology. I'm a loose follower of it. I'm not a person who's like knows every full moon, new moon, eclipse, retrograde, and all of that. And I do follow, like I said, loosely what's happening. And I do have to say that it's been this month that Mars and Uranus have come into Gemini, and now we're in Mercury retrograde. Who else is feeling all that besides me? Hi, Kat. Welcome. Great to see you. Glad to have you. And, you know, me being a Gemini, maybe it's hitting me more, and it has been a time. So those of you who were here last week heard me talk about my very challenging health situation. And then later that day of my last live stream, I had a small motorbike, not motorbike, it's an e-bike, a small e-bike accident. It has been one thing after another this week. So of course, then my mind goes to, okay, the astrology I've heard about, maybe it's making sense. Kat, I do remember that you were also a Gemini, so yeah. You know, the way I use astrology is a couple different ways. If, you know, I will consult especially the map, the astrocartography map, which I would invite any of you that are into astrology to do, as far as traveling or living places or moving. And, you know, the other way is like right now, this Mars and Uranus, and I think Leo, I don't know where Leo is, but it's all related in Gemini right now. And it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of in the back of my mind. And in light of the things that have happened to me this week, I'm like, oh, this helps me give some context to what's happening that makes me feel not so, I guess, tossed about by the waves of life. Thank you, Chris. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine. Physically, I am fine. I have a gash on my leg. But it's just interesting, you know, I go so long status quo, and then, you know, last Saturday, go to urgent care for my head, and then a day later I'm in there for the little thing on my bike. Something happened to you as well, Kat. Interesting. So, you know, life is lifing. And then yesterday was a very difficult day with my home and my landlord refusing to fix things. And there is so much energy for me, first around asking for what I need, even if it's totally justified. So who can relate to that? Who can relate to like being afraid or not wanting to speak up? You know, the story I tell myself is, well, it's not dire. It's easier to just not say anything. I don't want to deal with the headache of having to deal with talking to them because they are difficult to deal with. But sometimes things have to be dealt with. I could not get into my house yesterday. The lock broke, totally broke. It's been kind of on, you know, it's been on a downward spiral. It's old. Well, yesterday was the day. Put the key in the lock, won't turn. Thank goodness I live in this kind of bigger house and there's different ways to get in. I had to climb over a railing, but that's the only way I'm in here right now. Thank you, Gina. Glad to see you. And I'm not trying to turn this into a bitch session. There is a point. But also yesterday too, it's like I allowed myself, I was angry. I was very angry. How many of you feel comfortable with being angry? And how many of you don't feel comfortable or don't feel justified or don't feel like it's okay for you to be angry? So I voiced that anger. I asked for support. I reached out. And I didn't make it into like a dumping, venting bitch session. I complained about the situation, you know, and I talked to a couple people. And I even apologized. I noticed like, oh, I feel I'm complaining too much. And I feel like it's a fine line. So what is your relationship like with complaining? I feel like in earlier versions of myself, I would complain too much all the time about things. I grew up in a household of gossip and complaining, so it feels very familiar, and it can be addictive. Can you relate to that? And so I gave myself space to not put a spiritual vent, you know, paintbrush on it. To say, I am very angry. I was very angry. And I feel like that's really healing, especially for people like us. in this spiritual realm, in this community, in this personal development, bettering ourselves, most of us are on the side of, we don't speak up, we act like everything's okay, we people please, we put everyone else's needs in front of our own, because that's what we had to do to survive. And so I really felt like it was good. And for me to even say, I am very angry, I was mad today. I think I talked to 3 different people. One person I got support, and the other 2 were friends that I just happened to be seeing. And it just, so it's like what happened, and then my reaction, my response, and then what am I going to do about it? And many of you know that have been following me that I've been considering moving. Well, isn't it interesting? You can't make this shit up. I just got back from my 3-week milestone vacation trip. Part of the reason for the trip was to look for new places, new countries to live in. And when I was on my trip, I was like, I'm leaving my home. I'm going to leave where I am. Like, I'm going to leave it as a home base. And then guess what happened? I got back here, got back in my comfort zone. It feels so good. And, there's so many things I love about it. There's so many things I love about my place where I live. And so that old familiar comfort zone started to work its magic, hypnotize me. And so then this past week, I've just been like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have to decide right now. I have 6 weeks to give notice in my place. I don't have to decide right now. And guess what? The events of yesterday to me were a very clear indication something's trying to get me to go. It is unacceptable the way the landlords, they are refusing to fix things that are their job to fix. And that's just reality. As Byron Katie says, when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So it's like, yeah, there's a time and space for all of the range of emotions. There's a time and space for me to be angry, for me to share my feelings, for me to get feedback. There's a time and space then for me to validate myself, not make myself wrong that I'm upset or that I'm talking about it, being on my own team, being on my own side. Then there's a time and place to start getting into the solution. I can't just sit in victim and sit in complaining. But I don't want to spiritually bypass it. So this is what happens in spiritual circles so often. We go straight to all the spiritual tips and tools, and then we gaslight ourselves. It's spiritual bypassing, spiritual whitewashing. Oh, love and light. Like, yes, and before we go to love and light, we get to be with ourselves in our experience. And there's a fine line of that. We don't want to get lost in victim, or lost in stuck in the problem, or lost in let me tell you and you and you and you all my story, my sob story, my victim story. Or just, the facts of the situation. The facts of the lock and key the lock situation with my door. It is old. It has normal wear and tear. I did not break it. I did not do something to break it. It's just course of living in an older house and things, it's maintenance. And so I communicated, the lock broke, need somebody to fix it. The landlord said, no, you broke the lock, you have to fix it. That's the facts. Now, what am I going to put on top of the facts? Am I going to put, anger, resentment, pointing fingers? Am I going to stew in it? Even just saying it right now, I feel a rise of sensation in my heart. There is still charge there. And I've had time, and it's not just that. There was another incident that happened with them that they also refused. So it was like two things in one day. So bless my heart, So can you see there's like all these little layers, all these ways in which that we can work with ourselves in these situations. And, the biggest takeaway was like, okay, universe, to me, like two very clear refusals of support to fix things that are theirs to fix in one day. Like, if that's not a sign for me to go, I don't know what is. So, yeah, thank you all for your comments, Leslie, Kat, and Chris. So again, it's not turning into a bitch session, because I know there is also value at times in me sharing in 12-step we say experience, strength, and hope. I'm just a human being here. I'm not fully enlightened. I'm not Michael Singer. I'm not Byron Katie. I wish I was. I'm on my way. I'm on my path. And until I'm there, this is what I have to work with. So, I also employed Michael Singer's relax and release. I felt a huge amount of sensation in my body. I label the sensation as anger. But, we can even remove those labels. The labels hold energy. The labels hold judgment. The labels hold stories. There was huge energy and motion in my body. And, Michael Singer says, get out of your head and into your heart. And he says, because that's what keeps it going. The thoughts about it keep it active. The thoughts about it keep activating the emotion in the body. So in order to move past that, we must bring ourselves into full presence. And he says, get out of your mind and into your heart. And he says, but what about my thoughts? What about what I'm thinking? He says, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you're thinking. Doesn't matter what the brain says. Doesn't matter what the mind says. Don't listen. Michael Singer is very tough love. I call him spiritual tough love. So it doesn't matter what the mind's thinking, because that is going to perpetuate the cycle. Come out of the mind into the heart. Fully be present with whatever this experience is in the body. Allow it. He even says, throw it a party, which is very difficult when activated. And I love that idea. Throw it a party means like welcome the experience of having this anger or these sensations, and fully allow it, because when we push it away, when we resist it, it does not leave our body. It gets stored inside, and we push it deeper and deeper and deeper, and then more shit gets on top, and then we have this mountain of shit inside of us, and then every little thing triggers it because it's trying to get healed. So I did work with that as well. So it's not like on this spiritual journey, we don't lay down. I may pursue whatever I need to do to get these things fixed correctly. And you know what it really showed me is I very rarely have any problems like this. I very rarely have stressors of this nature. And it made me realize, wow, my life is really easy. So yeah, we're just humans. Thank you for that, Gina. Hi, Dreisel. Shalom. Welcome. So let's take a collective breath together. Let's see what Michael Singer has to say. Yes, Mercury retrograde, as I was saying earlier, it's like when things happen, and the way I kind of relate to astrology and you know, I kind of have it in the background, and then like everything that's happened this week, I'm like, oh, this all makes sense given what's happening. And retrograde just started. So y'all watch out for your exes to come back. It happens. Don't sign new contracts. Don't start anything new. So the Michael Singer quote says, if you are living every experience fully, then death doesn't take anything from you. Wow. If you are living every experience fully, then death doesn't take anything from you. So true. And this points to what I was talking about of like living every experience fully. When we have things we don't like happen, we are not living fully, we're resisting. So can I live the full experience of what I've talked about with you? Can I fully surrender and allow to whatever emotions and sensations are coming up in my body? And I mean, just thinking about it, I can activate that. Can I then remember everything is here to help me? It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So there's a place for all of these wonderful spiritual, you know, thoughts and philosophies. And I am a, you know, proponent of also letting ourselves have our experience. Tony Robbins says he allows himself to like be angry or sit in his shit for like 90 seconds. That's a wonderful goal. You know, then he's like, he allows himself to be upset, whatever, and then he gets into solution. So that's one way, and there's many ways. So let's see what work your light has for us this week. Please don't forget to follow me here on Insight Timer if you don't already. Give a donation if this is helpful for you. Join my group, Natalie's Healing Circle, here in the app where we can stay in touch in between sessions. Follow me. I'm streaming this on YouTube. Follow my Facebook, Instagram, check my website. All of those wonderful things are so helpful for me and for us to stay in touch. So we got Sisterhood of the Rose. I haven't seen this one often. Beauty and Devotion, Priestess, Mystic, and Teacher. To me, this is meaning community. Sisterhood of the Rose. There's a group of women here. Of course, it can be whatever gender you want to be in community with, whatever that means for you. But, you know, even in light of what I'm bringing in already to the session, is this idea of not being in isolation and not doing things alone. So for you, that's what I want you to think about this week, is where are you under supported? How can you utilize community around you, create community around you, and get, you know, different types of support. You know, this says priestess, mystic, and teacher. These are like kind of different forms of support. And I do feel like the feminine is at play here. So you tuning into, you know, like, yes, we need the masculine energy of like, let's go get them, let's do this, you know, and we also need that feminine support, that safe listening space, that non-judgmental, loving presence and witness. So utilizing all of that for yourself. And if you've also been having an interesting week like I have, this is going to be even more valuable for you. Because, you know, my propensity is to barely say anything, or just to like mention like that whatever I was sharing, like mentioning it in passing, minimizing it, diminishing it, not wanting to, quote, come across as, ooh, you're too upset, you're too much, you're complaining too much. So, you know, this is how transformation and change happens. Earlier in my life, I was at one extreme. I was overly complaining, overly unhealthily reliant on others to where I was draining. I was always asking and taking, and self-centered in many ways. And then through, you know, my journey, I've sort of now come to the other side. No needs. I can do this all alone. Don't want to, you know, bother anyone. Don't want to burden anyone. And because of my past of being the other way, so then it's like, okay, well, let's come into the moderate middle. What does that look like? We as humans have such a difficult time with moderation of all kinds, especially addicts like myself. So what does it look like to have balance? And I feel like the situation that I've been in and the way I've handled it is more in the middle. So utilizing that spiritual support is a key. And of course, me as a spiritual life coach, I offer that. I still have not completely filled my 50 gifted sessions for my birthday. So please, if you've thought about it, if you've hesitated, if maybe you've thought, oh no, I can't accept that offer, I'm here to say this is a gift for you. And I'm going to continue offering it until I have had the entirety of the 50 gifted sessions. So send me a message with the word 50 if you want to receive one. It's a gifted coaching session with me in celebration of my 50th year of life. Great, Dreisel. So we have free from judgment, free to love. What a beautiful card and message. So where are you judging yourself? Where are you judging others? Judgment gets in the way of us loving. And really, like, what we want to get to in these journeys of these things that happen in life, especially with dynamics with people, like the things I'm describing, is we want to come to love. We want to come to love and acceptance and appreciation of each and every situation, regardless. You know, I mean, this landlord situation is showing me where I'm not healed, things that are ready to be healed, you know, giving me an opportunity for forgiveness and love and all of those things, to release judgment. And really too, not to take things personally. You know, if it was somebody else saying the same thing, they would react in the same way. So trying and doing my best to release that this is a personal attack on me is part of that journey as well. Hi, Rose. Thank you for asking. And yeah, I did reference this earlier in the live stream. And I do remember now, like the live stream last week, I still was quite not well. I am better. I did have a CT scan. It was normal. And I still have a headache. It's not enough to need medicine, but it's still there. So isn't that interesting? So everything is here. And I do want to say, I have to say this for the Americans in our audience. The CT scan, I went to the hospital, cost me without insurance $120 US. I told my sister, I'm like, you could fly down to Mexico, stay in have a vacation, get your CT scan and go back and still be way under however much it would cost in the US. So it might be an idea for some of you if any of you need expensive medical things. I mean, I've lived outside the US for 13 years and I still was surprised at the price of the scan. So anyway, free from judgment, free to love. $575, Gina, that's cheap to me in the US. I actually, one time, like 10 years ago, I was living in California. I had this crazy pain suddenly. I went to the hospital ER. They recommended a CT scan, $10,000 without insurance. So that's the number I had in mind. I mean, this wasn't an emergency, but, and you know what? Thank God I went to, like, it was like a St. Francis, some kind of like religious sponsored hospital. So they had like scholarships, or they had like I applied to get a discount and they reduced it to $1,000. I still remember the relief I felt with that. So anyway, total side note. Hi, Laura. ¿Cómo estás? So once we come out of this freedom, we come into freedom, we come out of judgment, we come into love, we then have room to have a vision. You know, judgment clouds our vision. For me, with this landlord example that I'm keep circling back to because it's relevant, it's like if I got stuck in and had like these small blinders on for this experience, and I was just stuck in victim, stuck in the problem, I wouldn't be able to see outside of it. So, you know, when we learn to free ourselves from judgment, I don't know what this is for. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this is all going to turn out. When I can trust the unknown, be in faith, surrender, allow. You know, I might look back and be like, wow, that stuff with the landlord really got me to know I have to leave here, and wow, thank God I did, or whatever, right? You know, it allows us to then focus on our big, bold vision. So where are you having blinders on? Where are you having blind spots? Where are you stuck in your comfort zone? Where are you in judgment or in fear about maybe a decision needing to be made? When you shift using this, you will shift back into this. Look how clear her vision is and her eyes are. So I'm going to pull these Lenormand cards. Just pull for the energy of what the cards have. And see what they say. So we have storks. This is a card of changing energy or things changing. Storks means change. So, you know, whatever is happening for you and not to you is ushering in change. It might feel heavy and burdened. This card is a card of, it's not religious per se. It can be a card of karma, feeling heavily burdened by something. So, I mean, this all kind of fits the topic and the themes for today so far. You know, the change might not feel easy. It might feel burdened. And then we have letter, so that's communication. There might be something that you need to communicate about. You might need to send a letter, send an email, have a conversation, send a text. And this is related to your security. This is a card, this is home. So, you know, you might feel threatened. Where are you feeling threatened, insecure, uncertain, indecisive? You might feel like house and home, job, something, you know, that gives you security in your life needs to change, but it feels like a scary process. Who all can relate to that? So we'll get a little bit more clarity here with light seers. Dreisel, definitely. Hey Ginger, great to see you. Yeah, I can see how this would relate. Kat, Nancy. You know, I think the theme is like, again, when we get activated, when things happen, conflict, whatever, to be able to have the perspective on the situation. She is, you know, up here looking down, kind of contemplating, but it's like she's seeing, she has space. There's space in between her and space, planets, whatever. When we can cultivate being this witness consciousness, look at how peaceful she is. You know, things will not hit us the same. And I'm still a very messy, flawed human, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm something I'm not. You know, I'm just not that enlightened. I mean, sorry, not sorry. I'm just at this moment. And it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. So again, freeing the judgment. I can see the judgmental thoughts coming in. Oh, you were too angry. It bothered you too much. No. When we get that perspective, Be like, I did the best I could in that moment. This is all here to help me. It's okay. Wonderful, Chris. Hi, Haley. Glad to hear that for you as well. So, I'm never going to be, the teacher on here that's going to pretend like I have all my shit together. And there is gold, there is nuggets in my messy experience. And it's not all, I'm not just sitting here, let me dish. And I think sometimes that's the growth and that's the journey, is the context in which we see these things. The old context a long time ago for me, before I was on this journey in the way that I am, would be like, oh, this landlord did something to me and it's their fault and that's it. And I'm mad. And that's still there. And there's, as I said, there's so many layers and dimensions and ways in which to interface with how I respond in my perspective of the situation. And we get to choose that. As I always say, you can't make this shit up. This Five of Wands. This is, if you could pick a card that describes what I've talked about today, this would be the card. You can see, look at these people fighting. They're fighting with these wands. So this is a card of competition, of petty arguments. And, nobody's hurt. Nobody's physically hurt. Nobody has armor on. These are like teenage boys or teenage girls and boys. But it's not pleasant. To me, it's competition. So they're competing to get somewhere. So they're like, they don't care who they have to knock over to get where they're going. And so it's like self-centered striving. Yeah. And kind of everyone out for their own needs, not thinking of anyone else. So you might be having that mindset. And too, for those of us that grew up in homes where there was fighting, there was this or worse going on, we then have gone to the other extreme. No confrontation. Confrontation feels life-threatening. How many of you can relate to that? Confrontation, being held accountable, feedback being given, even if it's delivered in a mindful way. It all feels life-threatening. And I was on the phone, a session with a client yesterday, and this came up. And I talked about, if it's hysterical, it's historical. So meaning that if you're overreacting in a situation, it's not about the situation, it's about likely childhood stuff, historical. So, and in my real life example, I wasn't hysterical, and to receive the text that she sent, the landlord, that said, you broke it, you have to fix it, we're not helping you with the electricity, we're not paying for an electrician, blah, blah, blah. it brought up a huge internal response within me that, was it in line with the situation? Meh, more or less. And it felt very unmanageable on the inside. I don't want anyone to be mad at me. I don't want to let anyone down. I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to do something wrong. How many of you can relate to that one? That is one of the biggest things. And even with, as I said earlier, like, there are things broken in this house that I didn't do. Like, I didn't break it. It just happened because it's old. But yet, there's still that filter. I did something wrong. It's my fault. And like, oh, if I tell them this thing is broken, somehow it's still my fault. And that's very interesting, because me using a lock for, I don't know how old the lock is, but I've only lived here a year and a half, so it's not a year and a half of use. It's probably a decade or more. But there was that part of me that's like, I did something wrong. The lock is broken because I did something wrong. And so then having to tell them, and then having the backlash of, you broke it, you buy it. So it touched into all of those historical parts. Oh, and also, everybody, by the way, Ginger is a teacher on Insight Timer. Please follow them. She has some amazing content and already been putting out more, I've noticed. Ginger, can you share, if you feel comfortable, your name on Insight Timer as a teacher, so people can follow you there? Ginger Davis. Okay. A little shout out to Ginger. So even that is like the opposite of this. Collaboration, community, not competition. Thank you, Ginger. And I know you can deeply relate to the landlord situation. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah. So, and I appreciate you all, being supportive. And also, my hope is that this will spark themes within you, in your own examples, in your own life, in new, clarity and insights on maybe how you've handled situations, or maybe situations that are happening right now for you. So then we've got this beautiful Ace of Cups. So it's like, it's a similar theme. It's like releasing this to expand our hearts. Similar here, releasing judgment, loving ourselves, tune into that big, bold vision. And we get to hold our own hearts. Nobody will do this for us. This is so important. You are the only one inside of yourself that can tenderly hold your own heart and your own experience and your own sense of self and all of the little wounded inner child parts of you and pieces. Michael Singer says this as well. He says we have internal hands. We push things away. So the same as that we, resist and push things away, we can tenderly hold our own hearts. And then we come into this beautiful King of Pentacles. King is wise, is assured, is confident. And this is about money and finances. So you might have decisions that you will, He's done all the things. He has all the wisdom and knowledge and experience. He doesn't question things anymore. He's relaxed. He's laying back in his easy chair. He's not in these petty things. He's beyond all that. So, you know, in the bridge in this reading is this heart opening, and this, to me, this is like being on your own side, being on your own team. Wonderful, Gina. I'm so glad and great to have you back. So we've just got, and then I have to say King of Cups at the bottom of the deck. So it's just reinforcing all of these messages, and you have all this within you. So we have a few minutes left for Reiki and Ancestral Clearing. I acknowledge each of you for being here. Thank you if you didn't say a word or if you participated. I'm grateful for all of you. Again, follow me here, there, and everywhere. If you would like to receive the gift for my 50th year of life, the coaching session, send me a message. You can just say 50. And it's been wonderful to connect with so many already. And we will, do a few minutes of Reiki and clearing to wrap up. So go ahead. Let's tune into our beautiful bodies, our physical body, our energy bodies. And just drop in, feel the heaviness and weight of the body. And just notice any energy, stress, tension, emotion. Could be anything. Maybe it's peace, joy, and love, or maybe other things. And just being that beautiful, loving witness and observer to that. Tuning into that heart center, like that Ace of Cups energy. And what would it look like just to have 5% more allowance? Allowing life circumstances to be as they are. It doesn't mean laying down or silencing ourselves. It just means that inner energetic place of allowance. And just receive this beautiful Reiki energy as it flows. And just what would it look like to let go a little bit more, to trust life a little bit more, to put down the weapons, put down the wands, as in that Five of Wands card, and just let life around you. Just releasing a little more resistance. Releasing that striving. Releasing the armor, the mask. Releasing the vigilance and hypervigilance just a little bit more. Releasing judgment on how you've showed up, how you're showing up. Releasing being hard on yourself. Releasing the struggle. Releasing the efforting. Releasing the people pleasing. Releasing trying to be everything to everyone and juggling all of these things. Just relaxing and letting the flow of life take you. Imagining you're on a boat. Imagining that you've been rowing against the current and against the stream, trying so hard, efforting so hard to just get a little bit further upstream, and imagining finally just giving up and giving in, throwing the oars into the water, laying down in the boat and just letting it take you. Feel how delicious that feels to release the resistance to the current and just flow. Life is that current. Just let life life. The next right step, the next right movement will become clear when it's time. If you don't have clarity, it's not time. Just like with my example of leaving this house, I didn't have clarity. I wasn't supposed to know until the events unfolded, and now I know. It is clear. So how can you sit in that space of unknowing, of trust, uncertainty? Infinite Creator, source of all that is, we love you. Thank you for loving us. We humbly ask that you open, bless, expand, lead, guide, and direct us into your perfect light, love, and life, and always, completely, now and forever, please and thank you. For all of our family, all of our relationships, all of our ancestors, and all of their relationships through all relevant time, space, and dimension. For all hurts, wrongs, judgments, and burdens, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, and financial, through thought, word, or deed, please help us all. Forgive each other, forgive ourselves, forgive all people, and all people forgive us completely and totally, please and thank you. Infinite Creator, for the highest good, please lift out all weight, pain, burden, sin, death, debt, negativity, spells, hexes, curses, black magic, white magic, guilt, fear, shame, unworthiness, and limitation of all kind. Transform us into your love and let your love flow back in and through us, filling and giving us all complete peace now and forever. Please and thank you, please and thank you, please and thank you. Please help us love and bless each other, love and bless ourselves, be at peace with each other and at peace with ourselves. Please and thank you, please and thank you, please and thank you. So be it done, thank you. You can allow the eyes to float open. Thank you, Dryzel, Cat. Thank you for this beautiful session today. Stay tuned for more live streams as they are scheduled. Again, if you would like to receive the one of the 50 gifted coaching sessions for my 50th year, send the number 50 in a message to me, and here, website, anywhere. Ooh, wonderful, Ginger. Thank you. And Nancy, Chris, Gina, Maggie. Wonderful to be with all of you. So much gratitude. So, enjoy your day. Again, reach out if you feel the call. I will see you all soon. Much love and namaste.